All right, ragazzi, so I promised you this presentation. I am exhausted, I am tired, so that's why you see me like this. So one thing that I noticed was that many of you guys were having difficulty with understanding when to use the different pronouns. So that's the first thing that we got to figure out. In a sentence, if you're going to see just eo, that's easy. You know it's eo and you just need that verb. Sometimes you might see something like to. Beautiful, not a big deal. You might see noi, you might see loro, and then you could figure out what form of the verb to use. The problem is that when you don't see that, so here's the tricks. You need to figure out how many people are they referring to. That's why I have the one girl over here. If it's one person, it's io, tu, or lui or lei. This capital lei is for you formal. You might have remembered that. So again, one person is io, tu, lui or lei. If it's more than one person, then it's noi, voi, or loro. So that's the biggest difference there. You have to figure out how many people they're referring to. So again, io is io, tu is tu. There's no replacement for that. So if the sentence has io in it, the sentence has tu in it, you figured out what form of the verb. But what happens if the sentence just has Marco? Well, Marco is how many people? One. Is it io? Nope. Is it tu? Nope. So it's the lui form of the verb. That's kind of easy. But what happens if I have something just like lo studente, a student? You have to figure it out. One person. So that's easier because it's not io, it's not tu, so it must be the lui layer form of the verb. Problem, it gets trickier when you see these three. When are we going to use these three? So here's where I take these little arrows and I say that's what you use. So I'm just going to Control V, move it across, and Control V, move it across. What does this mean? This means that if it's more than one person, you have to figure out which of these three to use, but if you see io plus somebody else, it's a noi. So if I have a sentence like Marco ed io, first of all, Marco ed io is more than one person, so it's got to be one of these. Is there io plus somebody else? Oh yeah, look, here's io. So io plus somebody else, you move it over, it's the noi form of the verb. So that's what you would use. But now, let's say it's Marco e tu. So I have two people. It can't be io, tu, lui, or lei. It's got to be noi, voi, or loro. Does it have io plus somebody else? Nope, can't be noi. Does it have tu plus somebody else? Yes, it does. Here is tu and Marco. So it must be the voi form of the verb. Now, let's say if I have Marco e Gianni. Okay? So we got to figure out what form of the verb to use. So again, it's two people. So it's either noi, voi, or loro. Is there io plus somebody else? Nope. So it can't be noi. Is it tu plus somebody else? Nope, it can't be voi. So my automatic answer is loro. So it's the loro form of the verb. Sometimes you're not going to see two people's names, but you'll see something like I ragazzi. Now, I ragazzi, you've got to remember, it's a plural noun. That I at the beginning, we saw at the beginning of the year, that shows us that it's plural. Remember, il went to I. So that's a big hint. Plus, the I at the end shows us that it's plural. So if it's more than one person, it's got to be one of these. Guys, there's no io plus somebody else. There's no tu plus somebody else. It's got to be the loro form of the verb. Now it gets trickier when you see something like I miei genitori. Some of you are like, oh, well, I miei reminds me of io. It does, but it's not io. So don't get confused with that. I miei just means my. So this is going to be my parents, more than one person. Guys, there's no io plus somebody else. There's no tu plus somebody else. This is the loro form of the verb. Just like I miei fratelli would be the loro form of the verb, my brothers. Just like le mie sorelle would be the loro form of the verb. And just like I tuoi genitori would be the loro form of the verb. I know you see the tu in there, but it means your parents. It's not you and your parents, it's your parents. That's still the loro form of the verb. Once we figured out what to use, we have to now conjugate the verb. So I'm just going to delete this so we could start from the beginning. So we're using the verb avere. So for io, it's o. For tu, it's I. And then for lui or lei, it's a. Noi is, just right in here, abbiamo. Voi is avete. And loro is hanno. So that's what the verb avere changes to. So if I have a sentence like Marco, okay, we figure out, what's the pronoun for Marco? It's one person. It's not io, it's not tu, it's got to be lui. So what's the verb avere for lui? Oh, it's a. So my answer would be Marco ha. That's if I want to say, for example, Marco has a brother. Marco ha un fratello. Marco ha I capelli biondi. Marco ha gli occhi castani. You've used this a million times. Now you're seeing why you're using it like that. Let's try another example. Let's say if I have something like Melissa ed io. We got to figure out what pronoun it is. So Melissa ed io, that's two people. So it can't be o, I, or a. It can't be io, tu, lui, or lei. Let's see. Is it io plus somebody else? Io, yeah, plus somebody else. Yes, it is. So it's the noi form of the verb. What's the noi form of the verb for avere? It is abbiamo. So now you could say something like, we have a cat. Melissa ed io abbiamo un gatto. Or we have a brother. Melissa ed io abbiamo un fratello. That's how you would use it. I know a lot of you want to put noi as the answer. No, that's not the answer. That tells us what Melissa and io equal. And that tells us in this chart what is the verb form that we're going to use, okay? So the answer would still be abbiamo. Got it? Let's try one more. Rocco e tu. Rocco e tu would be which form of the pronoun are we using? Well, it's more than one person, so it can't be io, tu, lui, lei. It's got to be noi, voi, or loro. Is there io plus somebody else? Nope, can't be noi. Is it tu plus somebody else? Yes, it is. So this equals the voi pronoun, but what's the verb? And the verb is avete. So Rocco e tu avete. And again, you could say you guys have homework. Rocco e tu avete I compiti. You guys are afraid. Rocco e tu avete paura. All right, so those are the expressions with avere. If at any point you guys have trouble with how to conjugate verbs, come back to this video. This video explains it beautifully. One more to see if you got it. Let's see if you're a pro. Mio fratello. What are you going to use for mio fratello? Press pause if you don't want to hear the answer. I want to try on your own. Otherwise, I'm going to say it. So mio fratello is one person. You are saying my brother. You're not saying I and my brother. You're just saying my brother. That's one person. So it's got to be the io, tu, or lui, lei pronoun. It's not io. It's not tu because that's easy. Io is io. Tu is tu. It's got to be the lui pronoun. Now, what verb are we going to put? We're going to put a because we're talking about the verb avere. So you could say something like, my brother has 100 dogs. Mio fratello ha 100 cani. And that would be your example. Ragazzi, hope this helps. I'm going to share this with you and buona giornata.